Welcome back, folks. Talking about the Vallow Daybell case. Before the break, we got into a lot of the details of what was happening up there and some of the undercurrent, and there's a lot of it. Talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses, not a part of this case. Probably one of the things the only thing that is not part of this case. And I do know from that region, you know, Rixburg and of course Salt Lake, the Mormon traditions are up there. That's their enclave, and that carried through in part some of what was happening in this case. Anyway, more importantly, on the ground right in front of the courthouse there in Boise, Idaho, is Gigi McKelvey. She has been on this thing. If I could just tap into your brain, Gigi, if I could just maybe put a straw in there and just bring out all of that knowledge you have on this case, it's unbelievable. Tell me, what has been going on in court today?
Well, this is the witness I've been waiting on, Zulema, who is the wife of Alex Cox. They got married a few weeks before he died. She was very involved with the casting out sessions, trying to get these demons out of the body with Lori. And so she took the stand this morning. It's been very interesting. You know, one thing I have noticed, Lori definitely doesn't have that judgy look towards Zulema that she did towards Melanie Gibb yesterday. It's almost like maybe there's still a little love there. Zulema has been very soft-spoken, but seems pretty credible and honest about what she's been saying so far about how they kind of roped her in and love-bombed her, essentially telling her she had these powers and she could use fire and the elements to make these things happen.
So Zulema, help me here, she became sort of a disciple under the Lori and Chad grouping there, that she was, they came to her. She didn't come to them. Is that right?
Right. So she had been at a couple of conferences with them. Lori and Chad took her aside, and Chad gave her a blessing. He had asked her over to Lori's house for a gathering after one of the conferences, saying he wanted to give her a blessing. So Chad and Lori took her in a room away from everybody else. He gave her the blessing and said that her role in this was to use the element of fire to assist in their mission and ridding the world of these zombies. And she bought it, hook, line, and sinker.
And that's amazing to me. So now you see this woman on the stand. You hear these stories, Gigi, and you're like, well, that's ridiculous. How could anybody believe that? You see her now on the stand. Give me your take on her demeanor. And does she come across as somebody that was believing all of this from day one?
Yeah, and she said she believed it. You know, she said that when Lori told her that she had had a personal, in-person conversation with Jesus Christ, she couldn't imagine anybody would lie about something so sacred, so she took her seriously. And that's just kind of how it all started. I think she became a little bit infatuated with Lori, and I think Lori and Chad probably saw that and said, this will be a good one to bring into the fold.
There's no doubt Lori, not so much for Chad, but maybe I'm just a sexist, but Lori has, you know, kind of a Svengali kind of aura about her, you know, even in the worst of times. We've seen her in court. She usually has an air of kind of, I got this under control. Do you see that as she now faces, trial for these murders?
Not really. She doesn't really have that cockiness about her that we've seen in the beginning when cameras were allowed in the courtroom. She does kind of laugh with her lawyers. She's very active in writing her notes and stuff, but I don't see an air of cockiness. If anything, at times, I see her kind of drop her head. It's hard, I'm sure, for these things to be coming out in a room full of strangers and your former family that you haven't seen since your arrest, some of them. So at times, I think it's a little awkward for her, to be honest.
Really, that is very interesting. How about the Vallow support system? Are there people there in the court with her, behind her, helping her, other than attorneys, of course?
There's nobody there for Lori. Mr. Thomas's family is here today. She did turn and say hello to them and gave them a big smile. So I'm assuming either she's met them or has heard about them a lot from her defense attorney, but there's nobody here supporting Lori. There are 2 rows of supporters for JJ and Charles that are from the Vallow family. They're here. Charles's older sons are here, his ex-wife, some siblings of his, some brother-in-laws, that kind of thing. So a big showing of support for the Vallows, 0 for Lori. I haven't seen one person here yet to sit in this court in her support.
What about the community there? I was listening yesterday. I think you mentioned somebody talked to you in the grocery store, and they're like, oh, I really don't know much about this case. Are you sensing that it's a bigger secret in Boise than most of us might think?
Yeah, I really do. They're because I have a little bit of a Southern accent, so
Really?
people
I
will say you're not
noticed
from
that.
here. Yeah, you know, they're like, you have an accent, you're not from here. Why are you here? I tell them I'm covering the Lori Vallow trial. Who's that? Oh yeah, I've heard that name, but I don't know anything about it. That's been the answer I've got more than, oh yeah, I know this case, you know, front to back. So apparently not everybody knows every detail like some of us do.
I know that when we talked yesterday, I had asked about Chad testifying, which I think is unlikely, but at least his attorney was there. Have you seen Chad Daybell's attorney in the courtroom today?
Sitting right in front of me on the very front row. Yes, he is. He's been here since this morning. He's been here every day pretty much. He may not stay the whole day. He may not come in right at first, but he's made an appearance really, I think, every day since jury selection started last week.
And what did he say when you said, hey, is your client going to testify?
He doesn't talk a whole lot. He kind of keeps to himself. He'll talk to, you know, a couple of people he seems to be familiar with. I was on the elevator alone with him yesterday and didn't, you know, other than hello, it was kind of an awkward ride down. And I'm sure he saw my badge and said, I'm not going to talk to her because she's with the media. But, you know, I mean, he's pretty quiet. And I mean, he's got a front row seat right now. He's getting a firsthand account of what's to come for his client should Chad choose to take this to trial after Lori's, which he has death on the table. That's a pretty big chip on the table.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the future with what he decides to do.
Well, and we talked about that yesterday, too, that obviously the outcome of Lori's trial will have some impact on what he decides to do. If she somehow skates or gets a lesser included, he may be you know, emboldened by that to move forward. How about Colby Ryan? How about any idea when we might hear from a kid?
No idea. The witness list is sealed. We aren't getting any heads up of who's expected to testify. I was surprised to see Zulema today, although yesterday wasn't expecting Melanie Gibb. Then we had an investigator on after her. He started out this morning, and then they said Zulema was going to take the stand, and I was like, whoa, okay, here we go. This is really who I've wanted to hear because she hasn't given any interviews. Melanie Gibb did the interview circuit for quite a while after all this came public, but Zulema has remained tight-lipped, and in fact, her attorney is here with her today in court. There were some talk about if she were to plead the fifth on something, but they said that wasn't likely to happen. So far, you know, she seems a little emotional on the stand. She asked for a moment, dabbed her eyes, has been drinking some water, seems nervous to be on that stand, but still is spitting out the facts as they happen according to her. And Lori has watched her the entire time. I haven't seen her really put her head down much with Zulema on the stand compared to Melanie Gibb yesterday.
That's an interesting dynamic, and it's great insight that you're sitting there watching that unfold. Well, we have to jump back and forth between time. You know, you're there seeing it happen. We're then listening to audio from the day before. So we've got more Melanie Gibb. Any high points we should be listening for? Anything that was an aha moment there for Melanie Gibb?
You know, kind of all of it. I think the biggest thing for me was Melanie Gibb saying that Lori actually told her that Tylee, JJ, Charles, and Tammy needed to die. That was kind of a big deal. I mean, we knew that's what she thought, but apparently she told Melanie Gibb this personally. That was a big thing for me, and it had a big impact on that jury as well. You could tell by their faces that it was profound to hear that. I
can imagine. That is, crazy stuff. So, Gigi, thank you. Get back in there, continue doing your good work, and work on that Chad Daybell attorney for me, would you? Just see if he'll give you a little nugget. Okay, thank you. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks.
Great stuff there. Gigi McKelvey at the courthouse in Boise, Idaho. We are going to go back in time and get a little more of that testimony from Melanie Gibb, who is on the stand in our virtual audio-only world. We'll do that when we come back.